this is a practice that I deeply dislike in the film world, which is the idea that 2D animation isn't enough. And I'm growing to tolerate 3D animation in the space, but this is just another step further than that, which is that also 3D, just animated as a whole, still isn't good enough.
SpongeBob, Johnny Bravo kicking by the beach bar, TJ making...
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Bikini Bottom Inquirer, where we are inquiring about so many different things.
Today we're inquiring about Yo Mama and how she is so fat that when she walks past the TV, I missed the first 3 seasons of my show.
And other hilarious bits, just like this, you can expect on this episode of Bikini Bottom Inquirer. Here's with another one. Go on.
Your mama's so nice, I have to say it twice. She's nice. Nice.
Fantastic. This is the level of quality you guys can expect from episode 3 of Bikini Bottom Inquirer.
I think last week you said, hey, next time we're going to talk about All Grown Up or something.
I shouldn't do stuff like that. That's dangerous in the podcasting world.
Because newsflash, today we are not inquiring about
Newsflash, losers. You're out. We've moved on.
All Grown Up canceled. It's out. Nobody cares anymore about All Grown Up. Chester, you're living in the past. Grow up, man.
I am. You can be cancelled for being cringe, and that show is the definition of it makes me very uncomfortable and very cringe. But we'll get there eventually. My name's Chester Liddon. I make podcasts and funny haha SpongeBob videos. I went back because we were talking about in like our origin story, we talked about the numbers we were getting so much. I went back and I went through all the different channels that I posted SpongeBob videos on. I had a look at the views for all of them. And I got ChatGPT to add it all up as I went through. Just under 500,000 views.
Jeez.
Like 470,000 views across all of these little news videos that I did over like 2 years.
Well, why aren't you still doing it then? I mean, you'd be making bank.
Do you ever have a moment where you're just like, if I just crush down my creative instincts and just stuck with something,
I have to sell out and
if I just sold out and just stuck with something for like a year longer,
then maybe I could afford to pay rent.
Maybe I could afford groceries right now. Maybe I could afford a second Saint Bernard.
What's his name? Or her name?
Muffin.
Muffin.
His name's Muffin.
Hello, Muffin.
Look, it's Muffin.
I was really hoping you were going to say Beethoven, but fair enough.
No. He's going through puppy training courses at the moment because he has signs of aggression, and I don't like that. He might bite someone, so I have to take him on walking
Little guy might bite a child, and I can't have any of that. I don't want to be arrested.
Here yesterday, and I had to be holding them. I was like, okay, do you want to give Muffin a toy? And like, yeah. I was like, okay, just gently give him the toy. Good.
My family's dog is the same way. He's he's old and senile, and screaming children freak him out.
Yeah, he's just so we've been doing the puppy training stuff, and we've worked out that it's all like a protective thing because we had the trainer around because he's been fine, and like I've had complicated, difficult breeds my whole life. We've had Basset Hounds, we've had
Sound like you said it sounded like you swore. You said a swear.
I'm not allowed to swear on the show.
This is
my social credit store.
This is my family friendly podcast that I came up with this. Not really.
No. I wonder why.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, they've seen it. I didn't have to share it with them because we're that famous. Speaking of, real quick before we move on. Speaking of going back. I went back and looked at your comment section on your Dutchman video, and I just want to have a brief conversation about that because you talked about how you got so much shit for that video, and I never realized, hold on, I have to pull it up because
You know, pull up some references.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I have to like.
I think you can share screen actually.
Oh, can I see?
If you wanted to.
But what if there's like? What if there's something?
Never mind.
I'm kidding.
Listen, guys, I've been googling some weird stuff about Goofy. It's fine. I just need to explain it. Hear me out.
The Goofy movie had its 30th anniversary recently, and I've been thinking about it a lot. You know,
I've been playing that Disney Gacha game. Yeah, I've just been trying to get the S rank Goofy. Yeah,
I've been playing Goofy's Extremely Goofy Skateboarding. So like everyone's like this video, this person's like, this isn't defending the game. It isn't good. Watch Who Needs Normal. And I'm like, this isn't defending the game. This isn't good. Okay. Why is that automatically bad though? I mean,
I remember I was reasonably charitable. I don't remember the video. Like, compared to a lot of other people, like, I had good things to say about it. It wasn't just, you know, like the usual 20 minutes of yelling about everything to do with it.
And then someone like later, like 3 years later, is like, my suggestion for you for your next review: do more research. Chester, you need to do more research on your video.
I do, about these SpongeBob video games on PlayStation 2. I get it, guys. I need to do. I'm not good enough.
And then you had some salty replies that you made.
Dude. My favorite thing in this fucking world is replying to SpongeBob commenters. I fucking love it. I had a fight with one guy that lasted like 6 months, and I'm not a confrontational person, but when it comes to stuff about SpongeBob, I go sicko mode. I go complete salt, complete little bitchy 13-year-old. You listen here.
Like,
I didn't do any research for this video, but
this one guy says, I hear if you played it on a PS2 Slim, the glitch will not crash the game anymore. That's not true. I lied about that. I was confused. And then like he's just basically describing that glitch, and like it doesn't happen actually if you do this. And then you just respond, actually the best thing to do is just not play the game.
Got him.
There was something else that was like super funny.
When was this? What year?
A lot of these were, so the really salty ones were like 5 years ago. So that was like probably around when you first posted it, I would imagine.
So I made this in 2020. The video.
Well, I think you released it in 2019, so maybe this was like a year later. I don't know, but.
Yeah, because there does come a stage with videos where like a year or two passes and I'm still getting comments on it.
Right. Well, you released it in December 2019 as well.
Okay. So my doneness level can like let me have a little look. I still get comments. I got to switch over to CMB Extra for this. I still get probably a handful of comments a week of people being like, "This didn't age well. This didn't age well. Bad take. This didn't age well," on stuff about Hogwarts or All Stars Brawl or something like that, or that damn like Skyward Sword video. I'll get stuff like that, like a few a week. My tolerance decreases.
And it's weird. I shouldn't be annoyed by this, but I get annoyed by the comments I keep getting on like the Piglet video where they're like, well, it's not forgotten anymore, because I called it Piglet's Forgotten Gem or something like that, and they're like, it's not forgotten anymore. It's not forgotten no more, you guys. You also said to respond, this person said, this game isn't bad. Why do I say this? Compared to Big Sky Interactive's only other game before this one, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, this game is a masterpiece. And you said you could compare the game to Dirt and it would make it look better. That isn't a proper defense for it. Just means both Jimmy Neutron games and this one are terrible. Doesn't save one by comparing it to the other. Just shows that this company is incompetent in nearly every way.
Name one thing about the argument that's wrong. No.
I'll give you...
I will be honest. I played Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius on live stream once. I had so much more fun with that game. I had heaps of fun with that game.
That was the one that I had a slave issue where I died, I lost all my lives, and then I had to start over from the beginning for some reason, and I was like, screw this, man, I'm not playing this.
It's fun. Those types of games are fun on stream, but yeah. Anyway, do you have any more of my dirty laundry to pull out, or can I go to the first segment of this
we
show?
can go to the first segment. I apologize. I just thought it was pretty funny how salty you were and how these people are just like, do more research, points. Bro, as if you haven't actually done any. I don't know.
I think I'd done a little bit of research, but like I hadn't seen your video at that stage.
In all fairness,
as we said, like the world kind of shifted a lot with that on
right. I had to go to the ends of the earth to do my research. Not really, but
when they mean by research, they mean go watch this one guy's video that did the work.
Exactly. Do a Google search, bro. Anyway,
dude, we're in front of new people now. There are new people that don't know how salty I can be.
To be honest with you, I'm only just learning it. You talked about some other drama last time that I talked over you, so we didn't get down to that tea, but we can talk about that another time.
The fights I've had with other SpongeBob YouTubers.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one, but we'll save that for later.
Another time. There's a reason why none of them message me anymore. I'm surprised I'm still invited to these SpongeBob things. No, all those guys I'm fine with. It's the... Moving on. Welcome, everybody, to the first segment of this episode, which is Stories from the Week. I wanted to chat to you about some interesting stories or funny stories from the week. I have one that can start us up if you need time to think about something interesting or funny that happened to you this
I would
week.
say you go first so I understand this segment, because we didn't discuss this beforehand. Now we're professional. Now we're doing segments, whereas last time we were just kind of winging it.
Well, it got to about 30 minutes into the discussion about future SpongeBob games where I was like, I think we're running out of ideas here. I think we're running out of content on this.
Well, part of the problem was I was so tired. I had other ideas for that episode, and it fizzled in my brain. So there you go.
It came out fun. I edited it yesterday. So, all right. So for my week, I was involved in a little film shoot, which was pretty fun. So I run my own business, it's a podcasting business, and I've been resetting that back up. I ran a big studio on the other side of town in a big warehouse, like factory unit with a bunch of different sets. It was fun, but it was a lot of work and a lot of pressure. And I basically didn't get to do any YouTube stuff or any side projects or anything for that year that I was running that. It was just really intense. I did get to write a book, though. I wrote 2 books while I was there.
This is my rich and famous YouTube friend, you guys. You wish you were friends with Chester Liddon.
Me and my... How would you compare it to dirt? Fuck you. Child watching this video. Fuck you for telling me to do research. We could do a segment of you bringing up old comments that I said.
Yeah, I'll just go back. I'll be like, the weird comment from Chester this week. Anyway, so you were
Someone was being very polite and making a suggestion, and you blew off the handle.
Oh boy. So anyway,
so I'm setting up the studio. So we've downsized the business so that I can kind of have different projects and all that. But also, like with podcasting, you can't have multiple groups of people in at once because you can't have audio crisscrossing and all that.
Yeah.
But the studio's not set up yet, so I kind of had a bit of an empty week, and my friend BJ cornered me and was like, hey, do you want to come to Sydney and do this film shoot? He has a friend who is moving to England, and they're a dancer, and they wanted to film a music video that has like this storyline, action segments. It's basically like a short film to operate as a show reel for clients and stuff in England, try and get jobs there. So I said, sure, and he just said, come in a suit. And all that, and so I came along.
Come in a suit. I don't think I own a suit.
Well, I took 2 different suits because I needed option. I have a lot of suits because last year I went to like 6 weddings, and so I had to buy a different suit for each one. So I have a lot of suits now. So I took a few different suits as like options, and they went with the most boring one. So I was playing so to describe it, we drive up to Sydney. It's like 9 a.m. We get to the location, and Sydney is pretty dingy. Let's be quite clear of it. We are parked on some little alleyway in the loading dock, and there's just this tiny little door that's just covered in spray paint. And BJ goes over and he calls up the owner and like puts in all these like digits, and we opens the door. And inside is this really dingy, just like staircase that's just going up and up and up. And the walls are like painted black, and there's paintings of like old jazz singers and all this stuff.
Are you about to describe to me how you escaped a kidnapping and murder plot? Because that's what this sounds like right now.
Anywhere you go in Sydney, it feels like that.
Never been.
It feels like that. So we make our way up, and there's just this beep, 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 beep going off in the background. And BJ's like, I think that's an alarm. I think that's an alarm. I
think we're about to be arrested.
Again. I think that's an alarm. And so he's trying to call him. He's got no phone reception in the building. So I give him my phone, and he's calling the guy, and the guy's like, no, FaceTime me. So he's trying to FaceTime, and the guy's not picking up. Well, it's just beep, beep, beep. We make our way to the top of the stairs, and there's this dark room, and you can just tell it's like full of stuff. And he finally gets like the alarm off and switches all the lights on. And what lights up is the most cluttered, full to the brim bar you have ever seen in your life. Everything is like bright red neon lights. It's like this old Americana jazz bar type of thing where there's just paintings everywhere. There's 3 different stages. There's an ice cream bar. There's all this type of stuff. It's like classical American from that era, but still like happening now. So everything's kind of like falling apart a little bit, but like super cool. And I'm playing so I get dressed up. The main actress arrives. She's rented the place out for 2 hours for like hundreds of dollars.
I was about to say, that sounds expensive.
Yep, it was expensive. And we went overtime by like 40 minutes. So I hope she doesn't get charged more for that. But so I'm playing some like sleazy businessman that's watching a show, and she's like stealing a key card off me. And all sorts of stuff, and did that scene, and then we did another scene in like a car park of a gym where I get caught by her and all that. And it's like I filmed technically like the first scene and the last scene. Those are the scenes that I'm in. And the way that I've worked out is I'm not the greatest actor or anything like that. I can do pretty well.
It sounds like you're just playing yourself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm just a sleazy businessman. But I'm not the best actor. I can do voice stuff quite well.
I can do Kermit the Frog, sort of.
Here you mean? I can do like a nasally voice. I'm sick. Don't make fun of my voice.
I wasn't making fun of your voice. I was just making weird noise.
What's the weird 2-armed walking guy in the first episode 1 of Star Wars? The one that flies
Soboba?
the other Soboba. I can do
Soboba. Jedi Boodle.
Exactly. See, that was just me doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I've worked out is what I can make up for lacking in acting ability. I can make up for in just sheer commitment. So in this last thing we had is me being arrested, me being like thrown onto the boot, like the front of a car to get like handcuffed. So I'm just full body, just doom.
I want to see. I need to see this footage at some point.
We did it like 10 times, and like the next day, my knees are bruised, my ankles are bruised, and all this. And then I'm handcuffed to like the side of the car, and my wrist is bruised and all that stuff. But it's like any lack of ability can be made up for by sheer commitment. That's what I go for in life. So, yeah. And then I got impossibly sick because BJ had a slight sniffle, and so I, for the rest of the week, have had a flu.
Oh, you could have fooled me. You sound fine.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good for a podcast.
You look good, I guess. You're drinking coffee or whatever that is.
I had like the huge like bags under my eyes down to here, and I was just like,
I just always have that. I just always look like I'm dying.
So we have neon lights.
To be honest with you, I feel like I don't have a lot of interesting stories for the week. I don't go out and film interesting things. I work a crappy 9 to 5 at a community college, and
a community college. Wow. What do you teach?
Yeah,
do you teach community skills.
I don't teach. I work the front desk. I'm a secretary, basically.
Oh.
And it's boring, but it isn't fast food. So
that is true.
Yeah, it's not retail. I don't have to deal with that. I feel like I should be paid more for what I do, but couldn't anyone say that about anything? Yeah. Realistically.
So you're a secretary. What does that like involve?
I answer the phone, and dumb college students come in and are like, I don't know how to apply. I don't know how to register my classes. I'm basically answering all their questions. I do some IT sort of like technology dealing with that. Everyone's always like, I can't figure out how this HDMI cable works. Please come help me. And usually the answer is unplug it and plug it back in. So, I do kind of have a story, but it kind of ties into the main topic of today, and I don't know if you had
as a segue.
Okay, segue.
This is our new topic, guys. Segue.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bikini Bottom Inquirer. Today we're inquiring about the mysterious mystery of the Nicktoons movie. So let me paint you a picture. I was arguing with fellow YouTuber Mr. Jephthah, who also happens to be my cousin, but I'm going to call him Mr. Jephthah because I have two cousins that I'm always saying my cousin, and that gets confusing. So I was arguing with a fellow named Mr. Jephthah about the Minecraft movie. Mm-hmm. I hadn't seen it yet at the time, but I found out it was a Jared Hess film. Are you familiar with Jared Hess's work?
I found out after I'd seen it, and I was like, that's why he brings up tater tots so many times in the movie. That's why that got brought up so many times in that damn movie.
The creator of Napoleon Dynamite has, and also Nacho Libre, two of my favorite films of all time, to be honest with you, like comedy-wise. They're kind of ridiculous.
Once you know that, the casting of Jack Black makes a lot more sense.
I'd say once you know that, the whole movie makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, the tone makes more sense. The comedy makes more sense.
I went in knowing it was a Jared Hess movie, and I enjoyed it so much because I was like, man, this is like classic his work, honestly.
Yeah.
But
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
I went in with a group of people. They all hated it. I really enjoyed it. The only thing that made me mad in it is when they were like walking around and I could see half blocks of grass. And I was like, you motherfuckers, this is your game. You should know there aren't half blocks of grass.
That was the one thing. I went and saw it last night, actually. And I saw it with my other cousin. I'll call him Pladley. That's his YouTube name. Me and him went and saw it. This was his second time seeing it. He saw it with his wife.
Quite dedicated.
And he was like, I like it. I want to go with you. Let's go see it. And the beginning was like so like exposition heavy, I guess is how I would say it. It was like this character, and that's why this is like this, and I have this orb that's actually a cube, and blah 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 blah. And then
I think there is less exposition in Lord of the Rings, in that first bit of Lord of the Rings, than there is in Minecraft.
And how a lot of like his explanations of this is what happened, this is what's happening, or this is what we need to do. I told Pladley that I was okay with it because it felt like a child explaining their Minecraft world to me in a very not super coherent way. That movie felt like Jack Black was not playing Minecraft Steve. He was just playing Jack Black. They just told him, hey, go out there and talk about Minecraft for an hour.
Wear some blue.
The way he was like pronunciating words. I was like, why is he saying that like that? I'm confused. But overall, I thought it was good. And I counted like 5-ish references to Napoleon Dynamite. He really? There was the llama or alpaca at the beginning in the lady's car, and that felt like a
was it
reference.
Called Tina?
It wasn't, but it still felt like a reference to me. And I could be wrong.
Yeah, but I get that. Yeah, no, I hadn't made that connection, but I feel like that would be, yeah.
And then you already mentioned the tots. They were like, I have some tots. And it's set in Idaho. And Napoleon Dynamite set in Idaho. Actually, cool story, bro. I've been to the town where Napoleon Dynamite was filmed.
Is it as flat and grey as it is in Napoleon Dynamite?
Absolutely. It is the smallest of small towns. Like we went past like the high school. I went to the bowling alley. There's a scene in the movie where they bowl, and like the bowling alley, like their one claim to fame is they were in Napoleon Dynamite. So they have like a whole wall of just like pictures with like the cast and everything.
Oh wow.
I also dated a girl in high school who her family were like friends with the actor who plays Uncle Rico, and apparently
basically in the Minecraft movie. Then
yeah, exactly.
So close to it.
Exactly. Apparently they had like dinner with him on a regular basis. That was interesting. But anyways, what else was there? I mean, there was also the tot gun, and then when he pulls out the tot, he's like, "You had tots this whole time?" I felt the Napoleon Dynamite energy. There was something else, but I can't think. Anyways, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I was pretty invested in the real world stuff, and then the Minecraft stuff was just Minecraft.
Yeah, I really liked the brother and sister dynamic. I liked all that type of stuff.
It was goofy. The brother and sister dynamic was interesting as well because, what's her name? Emma Myers, I think.
The girl from Wednesday.
Yeah, I could be wrong what is her name? Hold on. I don't know if that was her, if that was not her name, I apologize, but she looks like a child. She's an adult, but she looks so young. And so seeing her play the part of the older sister who's trying to be a parent felt very weird. Like when she's driving the car to their new house,
the car at the start.
I was thinking, you need a phone book, like you need a booster seat, like you child. Like she's talking about, oh, we're gonna start a new life, it's gonna be great, and I'm like, you look like you're 10. This is weird.
But you gotta think, like I was talking to my wife about, I was like, you've got to think about it from the perspective of a kid seeing this,
right?
Who, like, you gotta think, like when I watch, if I see a clip from the classic Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, anytime now, I see Roderick as a kid. He looks like a kid to me, like the guy who played Roderick. But but when I was watching it as a kid, I was like, "Oh my god, Roderick is so cool. And he's so much older, and he's like all this type of stuff." So
and then they then they ruined it. Hashtag not my Roderick.
Not my Roderick. No, cringe.
But yeah,
the only thing that annoyed
weird.
me with that movie, I actually really liked the comedy. I really liked the movie as a whole.
Minecraft,
it was also a heap of fun. Yeah, Minecraft.
Okay.
The only thing that was slightly irritating, it was fun, was all the kids screaming like the entire time. I enjoyed that because it was like, it felt more hype than like Endgame. These kids just the entire time. We arrived there and there was like, we waited in line for like 30 minutes. And I'm like, I have never waited in line to see a movie before. I live in a small country town. I have never waited in line to see a movie before. Was that, but it's just the stuff in it where it's like, that's not actually in Minecraft. Like the golem at the end.
That was what I was about to bring up actually, is like, I was sitting there with my cousin. First of all, we didn't have a crowd. It was just me and him, and then like a father and son, and it looked like a mother and son. Like just, it was just, and he told me he wished that I had seen it with a crowd so I could just experience the chaos that there was, but I will never have that experience. But there was times where he would just lean over and he'd be like, "That's not in Minecraft. That's not canon. That's not canon in Minecraft." There's this part where she kills a zombie and then picks up a bone to try to tame a wolf, and he's like, "Zombies don't drop bones. That's not canon." And then they put the boots of swiftness on top of the. We're just spoiling the movie. They put boots of swiftness on an iron golem and make him a super iron golem, and
yeah.
And my cousin was like, that's not canon.
Well, or they like I said to Danae, it's like you build up this thing of this kid being this inventor, just have him make TNT cannons.
I thought it was fine. It didn't really bother me that much. It was like, I respect it. It's just goofy and it doesn't matter to me, but I understand. Some people are like, it has to be real Minecraft. They're not doing the real crafting recipes.
Like, why make bucket nunchucks? Just have him make a hoe, and it's like, this is a useless weapon.
Buck chuckets.
That's the whole joke.
There were some lines in that movie. There's a part where they're flying and he says, just relax, let my hips guide you, it's the only way. And I keep taking that line out of context and saying or then later in that scene he says, I command you to make a man sandwich. And I think my favorite line was by what's her name, where she says, people are always trying to sue me when I hit them with my Jeep Grand Cherokee.
I loved how many times they said Jeep Grand Cherokee in that movie.
That was such a weird, like, alternative plot with the villager and what's her name. But
yeah.
So anyways,
was it Matt Perry as well? Matt Perry voicing the villager, because he was supposed. Oh, not Matthew Perry. What's his name? Toast.
The Minecraft IMDb.
Matt Berry, because he was supposed to play Steve, but they got him to do a little voice line at the end.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's weird. What else does he do? Do I know that?
He was in the IT Crowd, Toast of London. What else does he do? Things We Do in the Dark, I think it is. What We Do in the Shadows.
The only one I recognized out of everything you just said was that last one. So,
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched that either, but my sister is a big fan. So, I'm not a very cultured person, clearly.
Clearly.
Hate to burst your bubble, everyone. So, oh, that's weird. Okay. Picture-in-picture mode closed to maintain recording quality. Okay. Well, no more picture-in-picture mode for now. So I guess going back to the whole point of what I was bringing up in the first place is I was arguing, this was before I saw the movie, I was arguing with Mr. Jephthah about, he just kind of decides he's not going to like something and then just blindly is like, it's bad, it's garbage, I'm not gonna. He has that habit, and if you're watching, that's right, I'm calling you out. Stop doing that.
Unless it's The Last Jedi or any of those movies, you're perfectly fine to make an assumption about those.
And Pladley, the one I went to see a Minecraft movie with, he is a Last Jedi defender. He loves that movie.
What about The Rise of Skywalker then?
I don't think
you can't like both.
I don't think anyone
can't like both.
I don't think any of us like that one. At the time, I was like, "Oh, it's
BJ
fine." But then,
it.
like, the more I reflect back on it, I'm like, "No, that wasn't fine."
I remember me and BJ had like quite a few like disagreements about The Last Jedi, and then he went and saw Rise of Skywalker, and I was like, "Yeah, that was quite good. I actually really enjoyed it." I was like, "I'm not going to see it. I've got nothing to discuss."
I liked all the sequels right after watching them, and then like as time went on and I reflected back on them, I'm like, no, actually that wasn't good. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Anyways,
Clone Wars. Yeah.
Actually, we should genuinely have a conversation about Clone Wars, because
we should get BJ on for that, because BJ is the connoisseur of Clone Wars. He knows more about that than
I'm
I
a
do.
Clone Wars connoisseur. They just announced a new show about Darth Maul last night by the Clone Wars team, I think. And so that'll be cool. But I was looking up Jared Hess's IMDb. I was like, what movies has he done? Because I wanted to see like the review scores. And all of like the big ones for me, like Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, Minecraft Movie, they're all around the same. They're like 6 and 7. Like critically and like fan wise,
What?
like they don't have very high IMDb scores.
Napoleon Dynamite has a
7. Yeah, it's a 7 on IMDb.
I would compare it very favorably to stuff like having a mind blank. Move on. It's not coming. It's gone. It's left.
I would compare it to Dirt, and
That makes it better because it's better than Dirt.
But when I was looking at Jared Hess's IMDb, I was like, oh, he has 2. I was like, what is he gonna do in the future? He has 2 upcoming listings, and so I click on it, and I'm like, oh, what is he up to in the future? And I see something that I'd never heard of before. I'm pulling it up for reference.
Yeah.
Under upcoming, it just says Nicktoons, and I was like, what does that mean? It says director, and it says in development. Newsflash: IMDb is not accurate. Do not use IMDb as a source for all information. Like, it can give you good information, but it's basically like how Wikipedia used to be back in the day, where anyone can technically add stuff to this. So I was like, Nicktoons, what is that? And so that's how this story arc began. I started looking into it because I was like, that could be an interesting topic for our podcast. That's all about Nickelodeon. So it turns out that apparently, according to my sources, Jared Hess was supposedly going to be writing and directing a Nicktoons movie. And I'd never heard of such a thing. Turns out these articles, everything about this was from 2016. Did you ever hear anything about this ever?
I may have heard some whisperings back then, because this was during that height of the era of, because obviously like a year later we got the Hey Arnold Jungle movie. So this was at the height of that reinvigoration of the Nickelodeon brand.
And that's kind of what they were citing.
Nostalgic viewpoint. Yeah.
Right. They were kind of citing it as that.
Because just really quickly, if the discussions were happening in 2016, I've just had a short little look through the cast, and they have Mason Vale Cotton on there, who was the voice of Arnold in the Hey Arnold Jungle movie, which makes sense for them, because I was just going to say that's obviously not possible now, because like his voice is going to be the same as it was in 2017, and they always get new voices for Arnold, so they have a similar tone. But if the discussions were in 2016 when he was recording for Jungle Movie, that makes a lot more sense.
And I don't know if any of this cast is really accurate. I think people just added various Nickelodeon voice actors because they're like, well, of course they're going to be in here. But so as far as I can tell, Deadline, which is like some Hollywood journalism website, were the first one to break this story. Let me pull up this article. Yeah, Deadline has the exclusive. Let me pull it over so I don't look like I'm looking over here. So it talks about how Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon have set Jared Hess to direct Nicktoons, a feature that he'll write with his wife, Jerusha Hess, who is apparently like his writing partner, who had been working with him on, who had worked with him on Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre. And they mention Disruption Entertainment, which I'd never heard of this group before, but I looked them up, and they worked on, they did Sponge Out of Water around that time. So
interesting.
How do you feel about Sponge Out of Water?
I would say the new movies, like the Plankton movie, just as like same kind of, I would probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. I like it a lot more than probably most people do. I think the Out of Water segments, meh, but the Plankton and SpongeBob Dynamics, good, really good.
So
wish
they
there was
had
more Patrick in it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember thinking they were like making a big deal about how they're superheroes. It was like, I feel like that was around the time of like the height of like Avengers and Batman v Superman.
Same year, I think, as Age of Ultron. and a better superhero movie than Age of Ultron. So,
ooh, that's a spicy take. Okay, so they had done. I wrote down here that they did Detective Pikachu later on. They worked on Dune, and they did Minecraft. So there's some interesting things where it's like it feels like Minecraft was the movie that this movie was supposed to be, but I'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
It talks about the concept. It was apparently done by like the concept for the movie was based on an idea by Ali Mendez, who is an employee at Disruption Entertainment. Well, they say that they worked for the people in charge of Disruption Entertainment. And it was being described in reports as Nickelodeon's version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which when I think of that, I just think of like the Chippendale movie that came out.
I just think of the Looney Tunes movies with remember with the guy from The Mummy? Not Space Jam, the really lower quality ones.
I know what you're talking about because I remember that one. Yeah.
Or was it a Daffy Duck movie? But like,
and
there's a few good examples of that. There's
I remember
a lot of really bad.
They also did like a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie that was similar.
Yeah.
And like kids watching this, do you know who Rocky and Bullwinkle are? Because I sure don't anymore.
Looney Tunes Back in Action. That's the one I was thinking about.
Back in Action, yeah, that's what it was called.
And can I just point out, they're doing this with Rugrats as well, where they're doing a live-action Rugrats movie where the babies are CGI, but everyone else is live-action.
Could they stop doing about this? That? What
Could they stop?
I don't understand, because I was going to bring up, and I guess that's actually the next step. It was supposed to be a live-action animation hybrid. That's what they meant by Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And the confirmed properties at the time of the report were that it would have Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, and All Real Monsters and the Angry Beavers. Most of those were not at all relevant at the time. Rugrats is the only...
It's stuff that Jared Hess was probably watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the casting here is really quite weird because they've got Debbie Derryberry, so Jimmy Neutron, and Jeffrey Garcia, so Sheen Estevez. But then they have just Roger Bumpus, Squidward Tentacles, not Tom Kenny.
And again, I think that's all not. I think none of that. I can't find any supporting evidence that any of those people were going to be in this movie.
Yeah,
I think people were just writing down, oh, this was a Nicktoon. But back to the Rugrats thing. How would Rugrats operate within a live action world? Is it going to be like, oh, the Rugrats fall down a sewer and end up in real life New York City? Like, I don't understand how that works with Rugrats.
No,
like
it's just going to be live action.
They're
the exact same stories as ever, but it'll just be them. My thinking is it's just going to be something similar to the movies where it'll be, kind of just a slightly zany situation, giant reptar robots and all that. I think it's weird because they've cancelled the and we'll make a whole episode about this eventually. They've cancelled the reboot. The reboot died very quickly. No, I didn't like it either. Why? Sorry, slight tangent. Okay, you have a system. You have a recipe that works very well and worked for 10 seasons and made a lot of money. And then new people come in and they're like, you know what? That didn't work.
Let's shake up the whole dynamic.
Let's ruin Angelica and Susie's dynamic by making Susie younger than Angelica. So they can't kind of be the yin and yang, angel and like devil for the actual babies.
I don't think I even got that far. I didn't even realize that they did that.
And then let's make Kimmy not Chucky's sister, which is fine. You can get to that eventually, but make her Angelica's age. She's at preschool with Angelica.
I didn't get that far. I remember they were going to bring her into the show. I remember hearing that, but I did not get that far. I was like, I don't like this. I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
The lighting was weird throughout the whole thing for me. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird. But I also don't understand how Rugrats could operate in this crossover, because it's like they're infants. How are they going to be interacting with these other Nickelodeon characters?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's not like, because they avoided that, I think, in all the Nicktoons games.
Right.
The only time they crossed over is when they were all grown up. Is when they were like teenagers, and that was in the basketball games and stuff.
Yeah, right. Because I was gonna say they were never in like Nicktoons Unite or anything. Maybe they had like Easter eggs, but they were never.
It was just in the like the basketball games and the DS games and stuff.
And there was like
the Snapchat.
I was about to say the picture game on GBA. So I thought that was weird that it's like, yeah, we're gonna put Rugrats in this. The story was later confirmed by Polygon because they actually spoke to a Paramount rep for confirmation. The article was written by Allegra Frank, who I have history with. Well, not really.
I've got beef with.
She did the whole article that I kind of referenced in my original Big Sky video about Revenge of the Flying Dutchman speedrunning, and how this guy was like trying to like pay people money to discover new tricks in the Revenge of the Flying Dutchman speedrunning community. So she must like have a thing for Nickelodeon, I guess. I don't know. Which is interesting.
Okay. So what happened to the project? Has it just disappeared? Did it was there actual...
So hold your horses, pal. We'll get to that. I was just going to read like the quote from the rep was, "The project comes at a time when there is a renewed interest in Nickelodeon's library of characters from the last 25 years. And then I also wrote down here that it was happening when they were working on the Hey Arnold revival movie, which we already kind of addressed. Like that they were like really big in trying to like revive all these Nickelodeon franchises, and they really did not get very far with that.
They did not. I was 100% sure that the new Hey Arnold movie would kick on a rebooted show. It didn't. There was apparently never even in the cards.
I guess when I look back at it, they did an Invader Zim movie. They did,
which was very good.
They did a Rocco movie. That's the
only reboot thing that I think has been fantastic.
Did you ever watch the Rocco movie they did around then? I never watched Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah, I watched little tiny bits of Rocco's Modern Life, and it freaked me out.
For some reason, I decided to watch the new movie, but I'd never seen the show before. So I was like, I didn't really have any context to this. So now we'll get to what you were talking about. Obviously.
Sorry.
It never released. And that's like that's kind of the mystery about like, there's questions about if it was ever real to begin with. Like, was this whole thing one big lie? ? From what I can tell, there was never an official cancellation, but there was only like a vague official confirmation in the first place. They say a Paramount rep spoke to Polygon to confirm this. It's like, who was the rep? What was their role? Why could they say this? I don't know. Maybe they were just saying, oh yeah, that's definitely happening because we're working on all these things and there's renewed interest, blah, blah, blah.
I also think there's a general level of, where they can get away with NDAs and all that in companies if someone's got, an inherent interest in a project, it would be within their prerogative to leak something or confirm something to the press to get a bit of buzz going that might cause the project to be kicked further along or cause like a project to be like prioritized. And
it's funny you say that because that is another segue into our next point. So like there's this, I have a screenshot of it in our folder that you'll have to like check out. Basically there was a Facebook comment supposedly from, and I say supposedly because like I have no way of knowing if this is actually this person. Later the next month, a Facebook profile that was supposedly Joe Murray, I had to look up who this was, the creator of Rocco's Modern Life, had supposedly commented on Facebook under a Nerdist article about the topic, saying it wasn't actually happening. Like, like, oh, don't worry, guys. This is okay. So he says, I was assured by a Nick exec that it is not happening. That's what the original comment was. And then someone was like, oh, thank goodness. Because apparently at the time, everyone was freaking out like, they're going to ruin my childhood. They're doing I feel like live action animation. You said, why can't they stop doing this? I feel like it's become more accepted after Detective Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog. But yeah, it's always kind of been a...
But something like that comes out and everyone's like, oh, okay. And then a Space Jam 2 comes out and everyone's like, stop doing this.
Okay, but that Space Jam 2 had bigger issues than being a live action animation hybrid.
Yes, that's true. But yeah,
so he responded and said, this account did, the director of Napoleon Dynamite pitched the idea to Paramount, but it was promptly rejected. But he still put out press releases anyways. And so from what I can tell, this is the only source that addresses, like, only supposed source that's like, this is why it never happened. It was never going to happen in the first place. But to me personally, and I guess what you said makes sense, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but like, Hess pitched it to Paramount, they rejected it, but he put out press releases. That seems fishy to me. Like, that, why would he do that? That seems like a surefire way to get into trouble to me personally.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's a pitch that he's done and they've rejected it, it's not like there's any outstanding NDAs or contractual obligations, and it was his idea. So, like, if they've rejected it, they don't have any ownership over it then. So it's the equivalent of someone having a fan fiction idea realistically and saying, hey, I've got this fan fiction idea.
Right.
And it's not very professional.
Right.
Kind of
and I can't find any evidence of these supposed press releases. The only, like I said, the only real source that originally reported it was, what's it called? Deadline. And I guess it, like what you said, maybe they're trying to drum up excitement and see it, like, use it as a leverage, like, see, people want this, let me make it.
Yeah.
I could see that, but at the same time, I still just have a hard time believing that he was solely responsible for all this. Like, it feels kind of fan fiction-y. My foot. My foot's cramping. My toes. Charlie horse.
He says, stop being mean to me. It's under your
this
tail.
This is the spirit of Jared Hess attacking me. So it just, something about it seems fishy to me. I could see maybe a little bit of legitimacy behind it, but it's like, this is a Facebook comment. Like, there's no reality behind it one way or the other. It's like, and also, why would a Paramount rep be saying, yes, this is happening, it's coming at a time when this and these characters are going to be in it, if it was solely Hess saying, hey, I'm making this movie, talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, just lying.
Here would be my guess, would be that Nickelodeon was probably at this time, because this is 2016, so they're in discussions still, and like final discussions and beginning production for the Hey Arnold movie. They're in basic discussions with Klopowski about the Rugrats reboot, because I believe, that would be a longer process. So they'd be in discussions for a lot of that type of stuff. And what they're probably doing with this is they've probably put a call out of, we've got this project that is, a big Nickelodeon project. We're seeing the success of all these Avengers stuff. We're wanting to do kind of a big cast, big picture thing. Because that's what every company was wanting to do at that stage. It's like, we want a big cast, big picture type of thing. Like a call out to producers, directors, writers, and all that. And there's probably a bunch of people that jumped on that. And so from a producer's perspective, if someone's coming up and asking them, it's like, oh yeah, we've got Jared Hess who's possibly on board, who might be doing something. Like we're moving ahead with this project because it's all a big windfall of just trying to like bring in talent and bring in interest. And maybe Jared Hess kind of rose to the top of that, and then he pitches an idea, and Nickelodeon's like, "That's shit."
Well, it talks about
falls apart from there.
It talks about in the source that someone at Disruption Entertainment was responsible for the concept in the first place. It talks about someone named Ali Mendez who came up with the idea.
Or is that the concept of having more classical Nickelodeon characters like the Beavers? And
I don't know. It says,
all that stuff.
So the exact quote is, the pick is based on an idea by Ali Mendez, who works for Parent at Disruption. Parent was the name of like the person in charge of Mary Parent. Mendez grew up loving the characters and hatched the idea to bring them together. So I guess that's the extent of it. But that makes me think that
there wasn't a Nickelodeon
because it seems like Hess has like a close relationship with this Disruption Entertainment. I mean, he made the Minecraft movie with them apparently. There's a lot like of it doesn't feel like Nickelodeon was, or Paramount, I guess they cite Paramount more than Nickelodeon. It doesn't seem like it was their concept. It seems like Disruption came up with this. They got Hess on board, and that's why it's weird to me that they're like, oh, this. It feels like a lot of it is directed at Hess, where it's like, oh, this was his horrible idea and it never happened. But it doesn't seem like he was the director and he was going to write it, but it wasn't necessarily like, I don't know.
Well, to be fair, Nickelodeon isn't the most forward-thinking or creative when it comes to pictures. They seem to wait for fan pushes and for original cast members to push stuff.
I was about to say, I think they take a lot of pitches because are you familiar with Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide? Not at all.
Not at all.
Okay. So this was a Nickelodeon
Ned the
show.
squeaky-voiced YouTuber?
No, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide was a Nickelodeon show that was on back in the day. It was live action. It was about a trio of kids who are surviving middle school, blah, 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 blah. They have a podcast, and they've kind of become controversial, I guess I would say. And a lot of the controversy kind of it is around the fact that they are stuck in the past, I guess, with the show. They really don't understand why iCarly gets a reboot, but they do not.
But they don't.
They have tried to pitch this idea to Nickelodeon.
You just told me and me, a SpongeBob, a fucking Nickelodeon YouTuber, has never even heard of this. That might indicate something, but
I watched it a lot growing up. Maybe it was more of an American thing. I don't know. You're in Australia.
Very possibly, yeah.
Because I mean, it was an American school that they were showing off in the show.
Yeah.
But they've tried to pitch this to Nickelodeon. They've said, let's come back and do an adult survival guide. Adults really need this. And Nickelodeon just denies it. And I think Nickelodeon denies a lot of pitches. And they canned the iCarly reboot right as it was apparently they left off on a huge cliffhanger and they were like, oh, canceled. Sorry. No, never mind. And now apparently...
But writers do that, though. Writers do these big cliffhangers when they think the show's going to get cancelled as a dare to the studio of you can't cancel it now. We've got this big cliffhanger. And the studio always continues with their cancellation. I don't know why writers do this. They're like, they won't cancel it now. We've got this big cliffhanger. The fans would be devastated.
I
don't care.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon doesn't care about shit.
I don't think they have no follow through. They start all these things and they don't ever actually. They're kind of like Star Wars in that way. Back to that time. So I could believe that it was pitched. I just have a hard time believing it was just Hess pitching it. I have a hard time believing I wish I could confirm if this was actually this man's Facebook, because Facebook seems like such a weird, sketchy place to cite as a source.
Can't I was going to say anything on Facebook? Like you can have double ups of names.
Right, exactly. I mean, anyone could make a profile and say, I'm this person, this. And what I've noticed is the only like tangible information I can find about a cancellation is that one screenshot of this Facebook post. And then there's a couple of like fan wiki entries. So it's like, where is it? There's the canceled movies wiki it's on the Nicktoons wiki, but it's like canceled movies or whatever. And there's like 2 different pages of this, and this isn't legitimate. I mean, you can never trust wikis for any solid information. You have to go to the sources of the wiki. Little tip for your research people: don't use Wikipedia. You can use Wikipedia as a starting point. Like you can go there to find articles, but don't just read off a Wikipedia page and write a script off of that. So all I can find about this movie as far as details is just this wiki. It goes over the plot it says the plot is unknown. It says the cast, but there's no like, it's just random characters. Like Tom Kenny as SpongeBob/Dog, Chris Hardwick as Otis, Asher Bishop as Lincoln Loud. I don't think the Loud House would have been involved in this movie.
Lincoln Loud was not a what? Lincoln Loud.
Jim Cummings as Cat. I didn't realize Jim Cummings played Cat from.
Well,
Cat.
Tom Kenny plays Dog, so
yeah, I didn't realize that. So like they're just and Francesca Marie Smith as Helga, like they're just saying things. It's just, they're making up headcanon. They're like, this is what this would have been. And I've had this experience before where, like when I was doing research for Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, it was just fan wikis where it's like, oh, they got death threats and had to shut down. Like that was like one of the explanations I saw for what happened to Big Sky back when I first tried to look it up. And it's still to this day, they're like the fan wikis have updated to say, oh, they were blacklisted or whatever. But then they say like before they were blacklisted, they were getting ready to work on, or they were in the process of working on Fairly OddParents Breaking the Rules. And then like just other Nickelodeon games. And I'm like, they're citing me as a source and saying like, just making shit up. Like, I would like to meet the child who's creating these wikis. But it says under why it was canceled on this wiki, it says, according to Rocco's Modern Life creator, Joe Murray, Paramount Pictures rejected the film's pitch. And then it says, Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon refused to do anything with Ren and Stimpy again in March of 2012 due to the failure and negative reception of the 2003 adult spin-off Ren and Stimpy adult party cartoon. I don't know why Ren and Stimpy has anything to do with this. Or,
yeah, they would just say drop using them.
Or if any of that was true in the first place. I don't know why they would use Ren and Stimpy. They also say SpongeBob SquarePants late creator Steven Hillenburg was strongly against crossovers. I don't know if that's true. I also don't, there's no source cited, and I also don't know if SpongeBob was involved in this project. It also says Doug, the first Nicktoon, was acquired by Walt Disney Company in '96, and apparently Nickelodeon does not have the rights to Doug related projects. Again, Doug was never cited. What does that have to do with this being canceled? What is this headcanon? And then there's a note at the top
a lot
of
like that, doesn't it?
There's a note at the top of the article that says, please do not add, quote, Asher Bishop was replaced by Bentley Griffith to voice Lincoln Loud due to puberty on here, because it was before he got replaced. Also, do not add Steven Hillenburg died on November 26, 2018, because it was before his death. This is a weird corner of the internet, basically. This was a rabbit hole that I fell down.
Also, I just checking this out. I've just Googled it. I did not know Ren and Stimpy had an adult party cartoon.
I've heard a little bit about that. I think the more controversial thing about Ren and Stimpy is that the creator or the guy in charge of it ended up being a total freak. That could be a whole conversation for another day.
Who could have possibly guessed by how unhinged that show?
I don't remember. I think it might have been like pedophilia crap. I don't know. It was bad. Right. There's documentaries about it. Well, look it up on YouTube sometime. There's a YouTube video that's linked on this wiki as a source, like talking about the information, but the YouTube video doesn't exist anymore. So I have no idea if that YouTube video had any good info in it or anything.
Yeah.
Personally, if I had to guess, it was either true that it was pitched and never actually picked up to begin with, but I don't understand why someone from Paramount would say, yes, it's happening. So it could just as easily have been quietly shelved, because that's what Nickelodeon likes to do, is quietly shelve projects that never come to be.
Or it's a project, that starts as I got a gig for the Minecraft movie. I'm going to go do that. And so Nickelodeon's like, all right.
That's also possible.
We didn't have you on contract yet.
Things get shelved all the time for one reason or another. There are so many MCU things that get announced that never come to pass. Same with Star Wars. And
has Ironheart happened yet?
No, and I don't know. I mean, I think it got fully filmed, and I don't know if it ever actually comes out. There was also Armor Wars, which was like a roadie show or movie. It started out as a show and then became a movie, and now I don't even think that's happening. It seems like the Blade movie they made a big deal about isn't happening.
I was so upset about that because I loved the main guy in that from Green Book, and I was like, I just want to see more of that kind of stuff. But I mean, we've had a whole era of that because we had Batgirl, was it, on Max, that was fully finished and they just shelved. And I just watched it last night, but Salem's Lot disappeared for 3 years. It was meant to come out in 2020 in cinemas, 2022. They released book covers for it, no trailers or anything, but they were like, it's coming into this year. Disappeared for 3 years, and then they released a trailer and randomly released it online. People thought it died as like a tax cut thing.
Well, there was a lot of that happening around that time. Like you said, the Batgirl thing, which I don't care about Batgirl, but I wanted to kind of see Brendan Fraser as
Is he Two-Face?
He was gonna be Firefly, who's like a pyromaniac villain. We were talking about Brendan Fraser
either, but once it got shut down, I was like, oh, I'd like to watch this now.
And that's the one that I don't know if we ever see again. There is also the Looney Tunes one, the Wile E. Coyote movie that everyone was so up in arms about, and then all of a sudden, just recently, it got bought, and so now it actually is coming out.
Is that the one, Coyote versus Acme?
Right. Yeah, it's like a courtroom drama with Wile E. Coyote, and
that is a fun idea. That is a cool idea.
They ended up being like, never mind, just gonna write it off. But I guess. And I don't know how this works, because how does another company come in and buy a Looney Tunes movie and get to release it? I don't know how that works.
I guess they just buy the publishing rights, but not it's still a Warner Brothers project.
But guess.
The thing is, when we were kids, all this stuff would have just released on DVD. It would have just been a straight to DVD movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they would have gotten around it. And I thought that's what streaming was for, more or less, was the replacement of straight to DVD movies. But it just doesn't seem to be a thing anymore.
Not in the way that it was, certainly. I mean, Disney Plus has its moments where it's like, straight to DVD. So I guess the next question I have basically is like, I guess it's a twofold question. First of all, what do we think this could have looked like? Like, what would the plot have been here? And also, would we have even wanted this? Because it also kind of sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you as well.
Okay.
Would you be interested in making like a full video on this for like your channel or something? If after releasing this and like it got a heap of traction and someone reached out to you by email or something, and I was like, I was involved in a process of this, I'd like to chat to you about. Would you
literally
make like a proper Who Needs
Literally, that's the next point on the outlet. You keep getting ahead of me, bro.
Oh.
and the next point on the outline I just wrote that I desperately wish that I could like track someone down and learn what happened here. I want to know this story, and I would make a video about it if that was the case. So if you're watching, email me at avengersfan.com. Oh no, avengersfan2012.
You need a new email. You need a new email.
I made that email in 2012 when the Avengers movie was coming out. avengersfan2012@gmail.com. Email me, Paramount. Let's talk.
Let's talk.
I literally have made a Who Needs Normal email, and I don't remember the login because all my stuff is tied to the Avengers fan one. I think there's probably a way to transfer it over to a different email.
I think there is now, because you can also have you can make channels, other accounts, moderators of different channels. Mm-hmm. So like I have a few different YouTube channels that are moderators of other ones, just so I don't have to change accounts. I can just go into those other channels and do edits. Personally, it's tricky because at that stage, at like 2016, 2017, I would have been head over heels for the idea of this because I was so desperate for more of this stuff. And that's why I loved the Hey Arnold movie, the Jungle Book movie. But this is a practice that I deeply dislike in the film world, which is the idea that 2D animation isn't enough. And I'm growing to tolerate 3D animation in the space, but this is just another step further than that, which is that also 3D, just animated as a whole, still isn't good enough. And it's like, how many times do we need examples of that not being the case? But so on that front, I am deeply unhappy with even just the concept of it. And to me, it screams from a viewpoint that the people behind it don't actually understand the qualities of the products that they're talking about. They may have been fans at the time, but they mustn't actually understand the properties and qualities of the medium if they are suggesting something like this and pitching it.
Right.
At that stage, 2016, 2017, I would have loved it. Now I think it would be a very poisoned chalice for me in a lot of ways.
I have a couple of thoughts. First of all, just trying to understand how it would even work. Like, my mind keeps going back. I know they talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I haven't actually ever seen that movie. But when I think of the concept, I think, did you ever watch the Chip and Dale movie that came out on Disney Plus? It did the same thing, but it did it really well, in my opinion, where it was like live action cartoons in this world living together. If you showed it to Chris Chan, his brain would have fried, thinking that it was the foretold merge. I don't know if you understand that reference.
I know basic stuff about.
Chris Chan is a individual on the internet who he believes that the fictional world and the real world are going to merge any day now.
Are we talking about Welcome to Chippendale?
No, there was a
the original story of Steve Berryman, the Indian American
Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Troop Chippendale?
No, you're confused. Chippendale Rescue Rangers. There was the old cartoon back in the day, but then they did a movie in 2022. It was still like kind of at the, not necessarily the height of the pandemic, but it was definitely like the pandemic was still very much happening.
Chippendale, right. Were these guys in the Looney Tunes show, the reboot in like 2011, 2012?
They are Disney characters specifically, but
they're not Looney Tunes characters.
No, but I think that kind of ties into the whole like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit was like Looney Tunes mixed with Disney, so like for some people I think it gets kind of confusing. But they are like Mickey and Friends characters, like. They are in Kingdom Hearts. They have the gummy ship in Kingdom Hearts.
I'm getting confused with the Goofy Gophers.
The Goofy I don't even know who the only gopher I know is from Winnie the Pooh. See, this is what we mean when we say we grew up with very different things.
You're a big Disney guy. I did not grow up with anything Disney. I haven't seen any of the original animated movies. I haven't seen anything.
That's so sad. That's so sad to me. Oh, I just gotta.
A little bit of Looney Tunes, a little bit of
that was you.
Bullwinkle and
I do vaguely remember these characters. Okay, yeah. No, not them. So this movie that they put out on Disney Plus was the same kind of idea where it's like all these animated characters living in the real world with people. And it wasn't just Disney characters. They had kind of the big deal back then was there was a character in it. It was Ugly Sonic. So it was the version of Sonic from the Sonic movie before they redid it. So he had like the teeth and I don't remember who voiced him. It was not the actual voice actor from the Sonic movie. It was some other person, but somehow they got the rights to Ugly Sonic. They had like, who else did they have? They had like
That's why I think Ugly Sonic was a marketing thing.
It's maybe, I don't know. I've never.
Oh my goodness, they really had Ugly Sonic.
Yeah, he was in the movie. He was part of the plot. Spoiler alert, Peter Pan is the villain, but now he's a grown man with a 5 o'clock shadow and he's overweight and still wears the Peter Pan costume, of course, but he's not. Yeah.
That's some interesting animation. That's sure is some interesting animation for Peter Pan.
So I'm kind of picturing like this Nicktoons movie as the same kind of thing. But at the same time, I'm also trying to picture it as like a Jared Hess movie. Because as we just discussed, the tone of Jared Hess movies are very specific and very odd. And I don't know how that would work with Nicktoons.
How is this possibly cheaper than just a full CGI movie?
It's not. It's kind of the same problem with like the gaming industry right now, where it's like, you can't just make the cheaper thing. You have to put tens of billions of dollars into this one game. And if it fails, your company goes under and you fire everyone.
And Chip and Dale only made $600 million.
It was straight to Disney Plus was part of the problem.
So it released box office, but released at the same time in...
To my knowledge, it didn't release in the box office at all.
It said movie grossed $623 million at the box office. What's the
I could be wrong, but from what I recall, it was free. Because usually when it releases in the box... Maybe there were certain regions where it released in the box office. Because...
It's saying for Russia and CIS... film opened to 177 million.
Okay.
This is according to Box Office Mojo.
That's weird. Because I remember it was not like you didn't have to pay for it. Where like for a while they were making you pay like outrageous sums of money to rent this new release on Disney Plus. It wasn't one of those movies. Theatrically in Russia, and made that much. That makes sense. So, what was my other thought? I kind of come back to the idea that like this was a Jared Hess movie, and I almost feel like it would have felt kind of like the Minecraft movie, where it's like, oh, remember this Nicktoon? Now we're in. And what would who would the main character have been? What would the driving plot have been? Like, would SpongeBob have been in this movie with Tommy Pickles and Rocket
I think
Power?
as always, these things. You just need to jump to like what they do with Globs of Doom, which is Globs of Doom. I believe wasn't even titled a Nicktoons game anymore. It was titled SpongeBob, SpongeBob SquarePants, Globs of Doom, and it was a Nicktoons game, but it was a SpongeBob movie. I think SpongeBob would have been the lead. Jimmy Neutron would have been like the brains.
And that's kind of what they did with Chip and Dale, where it's like they take Chip and Dale and make them the main character, but there's all these other characters. So yeah,
it would have been something like that. Like they've got Amy Bahela here as Bessie Higginbottom from the...
Which I have a hard time believing that would have actually... Like...
Yeah.
Amy Poehler would have been Bessie Higginbottom.
Yeah. But yeah, it's all stuff like that where like, how does Hey Arnold fit into all this? It's probably some universe collide thing that's happening. And so these guys are there, but they're kind of big characters. Jimmy Neutron can actually do something about that. SpongeBob can do something about that. Danny Phantom can do something about that. Hey Arnold is a 9-year-old boy.
Right. And that also kind of comes back to my thought where it's like, you mentioned Globs of Doom. We kind of saw how a Nickelodeon crossover would have worked when we got Nicktoons Unite. And they took these 4 specific properties and had them travel in between these worlds. So would it have been like dimension hopping, or would they have all existed in the same world? I don't know. And
I still think you could do a whole where they all exist in the same world. If you're doing CGI, then you're not having the issue of all these art styles combined into one. You just do they all live in the same world. Where you jump from Jimmy Neutron's town into you jump from Retroville. They've got a whole ocean next to them. You jump into the ocean.
I was going to say, well, SpongeBob and Patrick are actually they don't actually breathe water. It's all a lie. That's just
you jump into Bikini Bottom. That's actually just in Idaho. You jump from Bikini Bottom to wherever the hell Danny Phantom lives.
And I guess that's the other thing about Chip and Dale is all these cartoon characters are actors, and so all the shows that we know are the things that they produced as actors in the real world. Would that have been the idea behind this movie as well? Is like they don't have these, like, they exist in this world and they produce, like, Tommy Pickles is actually a full-grown man.
No, here's an idea. Because it's the whole CGI, I think they're going to have real life actors in it. It stars like a 30-year-old man who's like, I miss the good old days.
Oh,
and he goes to Nickelodeon and he's like, no, like, you guys need to like bring these shows back. And they drop some weird hint that has him thinking where they're like, oh no, we can't get them out.
He dusts off
so
VHS.
He breaks into Nickelodeon, goes down to the catacombs like it's the fucking Catholic Church, and he saves the Nickelodeon characters from in the dungeons of Nickelodeon.
He runs up and he's like,
a road trip movie trying to get away from Nickelodeon as they're coming after them to try and catch them like they're running away animals with like the sticks and stuff.
When he breaks in, he runs up and he's like, there it is, and then he breaks in and a bucket of water falls on top of his head, and he's like, this isn't water.
It's gasoline.
This is gas. So that could be a whole topic for another episode.
And they walk in and there's like the you remember in the first Transformers where there's the big cube that they're working on and like stuff in like this underground bunker. He walks in and it does like the whole dramatic music and it's the bloody pineapple that they're working on to keep it fresh because they've been like keeping SpongeBob alive for so long and he's like been in and out of cryo sleep to keep him surviving for this long. It's like
Sonic the Hedgehog 3 where Shadow's like he's in containment, SpongeBob's in containment in the pineapple. But yeah, I thought this whole thing was weird and kind of relevant because the Minecraft movie just came out. It's huge. It's the biggest video game movie opening, at least. I think it'll probably end up being the biggest seller in general. Jared Hess is relevant. It related to our podcast topic. It was kind of mysterious and there's no conclusive answers. So I thought it would have been something fun to talk about. I think we had a good conversation.
Yeah, no, definitely interesting. It's interesting. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like there's a part of me that wishes that we had gotten more, but I'm also quite happy that it didn't transform into anything because there's only so many times your favorite brands and favorite characters can get kicked until you're just like just let.
Now what if the moment we upload this episode it turns out like the next day Paramount's like announcing the Nicktoons movie, here's the first trailer,
and then I get a million comments of like this didn't age well, this didn't age well, this didn't age well.
10 years later we're finally doing it with because now they're like, oh, Jared Hess just made the Minecraft movie. That's like the biggest movie in the world right now.
Please, Jared, come back.
We gotta
come back, Jared.
We gotta rethink that idea. He did the live action Minecraft movie. We should have let him do that.
You can bring that girl from Wednesday. It doesn't matter that she looks like she's 12. She can play any character you want.
She can play Bessie
Jack
Higginbottom.
Black can play SpongeBob. He can. It's fine. We'll kick Tom Kenny out.
Tom Kenny can play, who can Tom Kenny play?
Well, he could play Dog, but Jack Black's also playing Dog, so, yeah. And Jimmy Neutron's voiced by a girl? That's kind of cringe. Let's get Jack Black to play Jimmy Neutron as well.
Let's get Tom Holland as Danny Phantom.
And Link.
Let's get Chris Pratt as Timmy Turner.
Absolutely.
Let's just ruin everyone's job.
Jason Momoa as Cosmo.
I could see him actually playing like a live action version of.
Yeah, I was just thinking that actually. I was like, that's like one step too far, but like that's actually pretty close.
That's another. I really liked his character in the Minecraft movie. I thought he was funny. I remember the first time when the first trailer came out, I was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, "Why?
What the hell?
Why is he dressed like that? First of all, why are these characters here? Second of all, and then like once you go and see it, everything just clicks. It all makes sense. Best movie ever. 10 out of 10. Yeah. Would recommend. Any closing thoughts? I don't have any closing thoughts. This movie would have been I genuinely think this would have been a mistake. I think it would have absolutely possibly killed a lot of people's love for Paramount.
I think if this came out, I'm going to be entirely honest, because we have other news that we'll talk about maybe the next episode at some stage. This would have killed. Yeah, this would have killed any interest in Jimmy Neutron. This would have killed any interest in Hey Arnold, Beavers, anything like that, because people would see us and be like, "Oh, this isn't funny."
I mean, Space Jam 2 comes out and nobody talks about Looney Tunes anymore. Speaking of random
Looney Tunes movie,
I was about to say, random side topic. There was some Looney Tunes movie that came out apparently that's like actually good, is what I've heard.
Yeah, well, it's by the writers of the Looney Tunes show, the greatest piece of postmodern work of all time.
I found out about this after the fact, like after it had already been in theaters for like a week. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, there's this Looney Tunes movie."
It's not in theaters in Australia. It's so annoying, but I'll watch it at some stage. But I'm excited for it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of Bikini Bottom Inquirer.
Thank you for inquiring with us.
Thank you for speculating. Thank you for debating. And thank you for leaving mean comments.
Thank you for making shit up on the internet for me to be like, "Haha, you idiots."
You're like a walking fact checker. That's your role here for me and my blunderings.
That's what I do, bro. That's literally my YouTube career, is just looking up like wrong.
Actually,
I'm a professional. Here, hold on. Actually,
in that voice and everything.
Actually. I keep coming back to the Big Sky thing. I don't have a lot of other actuallys.
Yeah, you don't have any other actuallys. What I love is I went back and I watched the SpongeBob retrospective, which I think we should do another one of, which actually do every like game that's ever like SpongeBob game that's ever released, and get a bunch of different YouTubers for it. But what I love is that you have such a different voice for your YouTube videos than your normal like conversation stuff.
That's my narration voice. The 1980s pop culture was different then.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know any other YouTuber that like has an actual different reading voice.
I felt like my speaking voice sucked, so I was like, I gotta. So actually, the first time I ever came up with the voice was I had applied for a job with a Nintendo YouTube channel called Switch Force. Thank the ever-loving
Switch Force.
Thank the ever-loving Lord that I did not get that job, because I've gone back and watched him recently, and
Switch Force. Let's check out how Switch Force is doing.
I kind of think I think he's going through it. He's just, I don't know. His co-host left him.
Yeah, he was the man during the 3 months of lead up to the Switch release. I watched every video to build up hype for that. And then his friend left him. And I was
going to say, well, his brother left and then his friend left. And it's just been him, I guess, just making like clickbait about like, ooh, the Switch Pro is coming any day now. Oh, Switch 2, it's happening.
4,000 views on a channel with 400,000 subscribers is rough.
He, like I said, I think he's going through it. So the story basically is that he was trying to start a PlayStation centric channel where he wanted to hire someone to help him do it, and he put out a video like, "We're hiring," and I applied, and I actually I was a finalist. I hadn't actually made any YouTube videos up to that point, but I made like they had us do like a top 10 things I want to see at E3 or something like that. And because E3 was still a thing. And that was when I was like, well, frick, I want to do this job. What do? I have Share Factory on my PlayStation 4. My sister has a blue snowball microphone with the old version of the USB plug-in or whatever, like just ancient. And
they had the USB-A plug, didn't they?
Yeah,
it was the weird,
that's what it was.
One.
Yeah, and I went out into my car, my mom's car, and I was like, I'm going to write this script and record it. And I think I got by solely on my editing. But then they were like, congratulations, you're a finalist. You should feel proud for making it this far, blah, 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 blah. And then they wanted me to make a hypothetical video as though a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn had just been announced. And I had to be all excited on camera for that. And I'd never played the game. So I literally bought the game and played like several hours the night before. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. And I never...
Couldn't they just pick an actual game that had come out?
Well, it was kind of like they were trying to they were giving a hypothetical situation because that was an actual video that would probably have to be made at some point. So they were just trying to see how you would discuss something like that, how you would react or whatever. And I didn't hear anything after that. But truth be told, I'm not sure anyone was ever hired because I don't think that channel ever actually existed. I don't recall ever seeing it come to fruition. So
no.
I don't know. I don't know what happened with that, but that is how. So when I was reading in my car, I was like, I don't like the way my voice sounds. And I was like getting really to the back of my throat. I was like, I'm going to do my best narrator voice. And that became my Who Needs Normal voice. And I remember my mom was like, who's that speaking? That's not you, is it? So my own mother was like that. She didn't.
My own mother.
I did acting in high school. And I mean, even as a kid, and I was not an actor. When I would memorize lines and read them off like a robot. I'm not an actor by any means. I did Romeo and Juliet with my best friend, who was a 6 foot tall man in a wig.
I watched Recess, no stress, and then the kids next door always playing, messing with each other in the back tree house, chilling and possibly fighting evil, jerking off to Kim and having fun again with my cartoon friends. No classmates anyway, to hell with them, cause I was hanging with who I thought was cool. All the